Hey there, everybody. We're here with podcast number 7. We're going to be talking about getting success, grabbing onto success through listening, how a simple thing like listening can give us access to something like success, something we all sort of seek and want. We want to be successful people. We want to do things and be successful at them. So how do we do this? How do we grab onto this? So kind of the key concept I'm going to be going over is allowing God to speak all the time in your life in every area. A lot of us limit him to just speaking in the areas that are comfortable for us, or just allowing him and wanting him to speak when we're going through a difficult time. So we're going to kind of talk about how do we get him to speak in every area of our life, every circumstance in our life. So by the end of this, I want you to step back and look at your life a little bit. It's something I've been doing personally in my life. Is I'm stepping back, I'm looking at my life, and I'm saying, Am I being consistent with God? And I'm allowing inconsistency to bother me now. That if I'm not being consistent with God, if I'm not consistently allowing him to speak in my life, I'm starting to let that bother me, because God looks for consistency. He looks for that character. So there's really 4 basic ways that God speaks. And you can basically, through the whole Bible, you can kind of label where he is in there. You can label which one of these he's using at the time. So one of them is through you. He can actually speak to you through you. I can't tell you how many times I've just been driving in the car, just talking and talking to God, and then I'm just praying and getting really stirred up about stuff and praying. And then I'll literally say the answer to what I'm seeking from God at the time. And I'll catch myself and I'll say the answer to what I've been trying to figure out. So one way he can speak is through you. And then, of course, through someone else, through a minister, through a friend, through family. There's so many people around you that he can use to speak into your life. I think we've all experienced that for sure. And then through his word, that's a big way. I think that's a big thing that's neglected. So many of us are crying out, we're asking God, speak to me. I want to hear your word. So many people are waiting for God to speak while they neglect the words that he's already spoken. The whole Bible is inspired speech. It's inspired writing from all of those people. All those people were inspired by God, inspired by things they've seen through God. God is speaking through the word to you. So when you're going through something, don't neglect going to the word for answers. So many times in my life, I've turned to the Bible, I've opened up into Proverbs, and it is exactly what I'm going through, and exactly what I needed an answer to. And then the last way is through the Spirit. Sometimes you'll just feel an unction, or sometimes your mindset will just change. And what I really think that is, like, you're praying, God, I need this answer. God, God, help me with this. God, help me with this, blah, 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 blah. Just praying, you're pursuing that answer. And you just you feel like a mindset changes, and you see the situation from a different perspective now. So you kind of step off to the side and you're seeing that from a different perspective. And I really believe that's transformation through the Holy Spirit. So we have to allow God to speak in every area of our life all the time. So how do we do that? How do we grab God's voice, and how do we let God's voice influence us when we're going through problems? And then how do we let God's voice influence us when things seem to be going smoothly? We really separate them. When you have all that worry, it's all that you think about. So when you're having financial issues, it's all you think about. Or when you're having an issue with a relationship with someone, it's all you think about. It like consumes your thoughts. And so then you pray, you're praying a lot. God, I need your help. God. And so what I've tried to do is I've tried to let that inconsistency bother me. That if I'm ever going through an issue, am I praying more when I'm going through an issue than whenever things seem to be going okay? That's not okay with me. I don't want a friend someone, a colleague or whatever. I don't want that person to only come to me when they need something. Like, no one likes that guy, that comes over and just eats all your food, like, think how God feels with that. How many prayers are just sent to him? Man, God, I really need your help with my finances this month. And God's like, where were you when I wanted to do a work on your heart? Where were you when I wanted to develop a new mindset in you? And that new mindset I was going to develop in you would have saved you from the financial issue you're in. So how do we tap into that? How do we grab onto that? I really think how we grab onto that is we have to realize, and it says at Psalms 119, 105, it says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." So in the trouble, in the doubt, God is guiding you through how to solve those problems. He's guiding you through the answers to those problems. But then you turn around and you're doing well, life is going great, all that. And you have to ask yourself, you have to say, so how is it a lamp to my feet then? Well, think about it. If your path is no longer lit, even if you're doing good, if you can't see where you're going, you're going to trip and fall again. So the reason I think a lot of people, they feel like their life is a roller coaster, like I have these rough months and then I have these great months and then, I just feel like my life is a roller coaster. I really feel because the only time they're praying and the only time they're talking to God is when they're having problems. When there's issues. And I think a lot of people fall back into trouble because that's the only time they allow God to speak to them. A lot of people in that trial and that problem is that's the only time they're really letting God speak to their life. They're really seeking God, and God's in the good times and the times where things are going well. We sometimes neglect that. A lot of us were like, things are really going good for me. I have a good relationship with God. He helped me through this problem. He's helped me through a lot. It's going great. So yeah, I can watch some Netflix tonight. Hey, I can get on Facebook for a long time tonight. All these things, blah, 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 left and right. And then we start kind of compromising that a little bit. And then we become inconsistent with him. So really, I think to access success through listening, you just have to be consistent. You have to remember that if his word is a lamp to your feet, then you cannot afford to stop listening. Because as soon as you stop listening to that word, you can no longer see the path you're on. If you're financially well, it doesn't matter. You can't see where you're going. If you're in turmoil, it doesn't matter. You can't see where you're going. So no matter what area in your life, no matter what timing in your life, no matter what season in your life, you have to keep your ears open. You have to be tapping into that. I really think a big thing in my life that's helped me develop this skill in listening to God, and it's something that I'm working on a lot more, because honestly, this revelation really didn't click for me until probably last year. It really didn't click that aspect of I need to be in tune. I need to be listening all the time, it's just something that comes with maturing. When you mature, when you get a little bit older, you start realizing, man, I'm kind of inconsistent in that area. And for me, it was if I ever messed up or if I ever sinned, it was man, God, oh God, I love you, I need your mercy, blah, blah, blah. But then when I wasn't, whenever there was no mistakes, or not no mistakes, but whenever it was a good day, I was going strong and everything, I found myself compromising that evening. I'd just be oh, it's okay, I'm going to just lay around. It's no. Here's the thing. When I was younger, my parents did this a lot, and they drove this a lot, and I really wish I would have picked up on this when I was younger, because this is such good stuff. They always raised us with, we are a team. Our household is a team. The kids were the players, and the parents were the coaches. So, basically how that lays out is, as long as the players are doing what they're told and they're carrying their weight in the team, they get the blessing of being a part of the team, and they get the coach's approval of being a part of the team. But as soon as Using a sports illustration, demonstration, like you would have to look at it as you lose like sponsorship. So as soon as you stop doing what your coach tells you, you become a worse player. You lose sponsorship, you lose all these things, you lose these investors, you lose all this stuff, all these people pouring into your life, whatever, and then how that translates is God is the coach. We are his children. And as soon as we stop listening to his plays that he's calling out to us, that's when we start losing the blessings that he has for us. Because it's not that God is curse. It's not that. It's simply he just removes his hand from the situation. It's simply as you've run away from home. You're no longer under the wing of God. And so what I think a lot of people go through is they have these issues and these problems and they run back to home. It's like the prodigal son. He runs back to home and he comes back, and there's this moment where God, loves and he falls in love with his son. Now imagine that son turning back around and doing the same thing again. How's that father going to feel? Now, what blows me away and what's so incredible about God and what I'm so thankful for is that he always allows us to return. And that even though sometimes we stop listening and sometimes we're inconsistent with allowing God to speak to us, he still lets us return to him. So I encourage you, step back, take a look at your life. Where am I? Are you or am I? We got to step back. Are we being inconsistent with our relationship with God? How much am I stopping and saying, God, what are you saying to me right now? Whenever I'm having issues, I want God to speak. But whenever I'm doing well, how often am I letting him speak? Because it's just like in a sports game. You have when you're on defense, and those are the trials. You're on defense, and the enemy's trying to get into your end zone. He's trying to get into your life. He's trying to affect you. And you're, I think the majority of Christians do a great job at listening to the coach at that point. Coach, help me out. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But as soon as you get the ball in life, as soon as you get a step ahead, as soon as it's your turn to retaliate and move forward, we compromise. But what we have to admit and what we need to have resolved in our soul about is that we were not made for compromise, but we were made to change the world. We were made to do that. So as soon as you get that step ahead, the trial, the defense, that is made to develop your character. So then when you get the ball, you know what to do with it. You know how to attack. You know these strategies. And you have to listen. You have to open your ears. Because as soon as you get the ball, think about a sports game. As soon as you get the ball, if you're just sitting around, you're never going to score. And so many of us are pursuing, we're like, God, why am I not scoring in life? Why do I not feel successful as a Christian? Well, you know why? Because as soon as you get the ball, as soon as you get a step ahead in life, you compromise. You say, oh, it's all right, I can do this, I'm on good terms with God almost. That's almost the mindset. And it's weird because it's kind of like built into our culture that if you're doing okay in these areas and you're doing great, then you have the life. And God's system is completely different. So what we need to watch for is this right here. That a lot of us, we want God to speak and scare our demons, but we don't want him to speak and transform our souls. So many of us are calling out and we're crying out for God to come when we're having problems. But as soon as he calls a play whenever we're ahead, how quick are we to listen? How quick are we to respond to that? I think it's time that we start allowing God to reap what he sowed into our life. He has sowed time. He has sowed energy. He sowed the blood of his own son into our life. When the enemy attacks, we're like, God, where are you? Where are you, coach? Where are you? Why aren't you speaking to me? And he's saying, player, you left my team a long time ago. You stopped listening to me a long time ago. So I think the way to access a successful, consistently successful life is by consistently listening to your coach. God is speaking to you right now. God is calling you to new and greater things right now. Right now, as you listen to this, God is calling you right now. Now, are you willing to stop your life for a bit and listen? Are you willing to tap into that? Are you willing to be a consistent player? And are you going to be on God's team? Thank you.